Hello viewers, the newest time trial in the game is this, the time trial from hell, or the green hell, the Nürburgring. I really want to try and set a good lap time here. I've done more than enough practice after doing those 200 laps. For my first lap, I'm going to jump into the Porsche 911 and I'm going to see if I can beat the gold time first try. Alright, let's do it. Okay, so we have 8 minutes 17.990 to beat. In the Porsche 911 GT3, always a solid, reliable and trustworthy car, especially here around the Nürburgring and the Nordschleife combined. Let's jump through the first corner and the second one. Always a tricky little section this left-hander, you see their car braking traction on the exit. What's it going to be around the first split? 22.197. A bit further round at the hairpin at the bottom of the hill. This is where I made my first mistake, just going a little bit too narrow and then getting on the power a bit too much. Back end wanting to swap sides with the front, but we managed to recover it. We're going to continue and see what this lap can be. Coming on to the Nordschleife section here, turning left off of the GP, and over that bump it's going to be a 1:37.2. And around this track, we can actually make a big mistake there. Around this track, it's really important to remember your split times around certain points. I always remember split time at the end of the GP and a few other places around the circuit, especially this corner here. This is where I'm going to make another mistake. Ideally, we want to be going sub 250 under this bridge, but it's a 252.7, so there's definitely time to be gained. Into this fast sweeping section at the back end of the track, car nicely flowing through here, and this is where the cars really feel alive on this circuit. Into this double downhill left-hander, always quite tricky to get dead right. Into this right, you've got to turn in a bit early, a little bit away from the apex. On the apex, on the exit using the extra track width. Final section then, on the brakes, a little bit late, going a bit too narrow. Definitely had to scrub off a bit too much speed. But this is my first lap. Let's see what's it going to be as we come up to the line. 8 minutes, not quite a gold, 8 minutes 18.905. We now have a ghost to try to beat, which for me is always very useful. And we need to try and beat that ghost by 1 second. Now here, I made this big error, of course, on the first lap, so we can easily shave off quite a lot of time there. And to be fair, that was the majority of the time I needed. You see there's 6/10 near enough in that one mistake alone. And in order to get gold, I need a 1 second improvement. So let's try to continue this lap. And of course, we're going to get used to the car, as it is now the second lap. And so we should be able to carry more speed through this lap. End of the GP, 36.2 through that split. And we are now 1.2 seconds up on the Ghost. By this point here, 2.7 seconds faster than the Ghost. Can we go sub 250 under the bridge? We are just 49.993. End of the lap then. It was a good lap overall, 4.5 seconds faster than the Ghost. Carrying speed pretty much everywhere, making a lot less mistakes. It's going to be a nearly 5 second improvement, and that is going to be an 8 minutes 14.0. 2 laps gold medal. Faster, in fact, than TRL Lightning, the former Gran Turismo World Champion. Bro must be washed. So that's the gold pretty much secured. I can't see the top time improving by too much. So from here, I have 2 aims, I would say. One is to get within 1.5% of the world record. And the second aim is to get a sub 8 minute 10. I'm going to try a couple of different cars here first. I know the Supra is the quickest car on the leaderboard at least, but I'm going to give the Mercedes, the new one, a go. Once I got my act together and stopped turning right into a left-hander, this Mercedes was actually a very decent car. And it's one that's not going to be top of the leaderboard, but it's certainly a car that you could get a gold time in. And so after getting used to it for a couple of laps, well actually no, this is my second lap. After the first lap I crashed. Let's see the split timer here, 136.0 after the GP, and that was quicker than my fastest Porsche lap. Now of course I should be going quicker in a sense because I've done more laps and I'm more used to the circuit. So any improvement isn't necessarily all down to the car. Some of it is down to me getting quicker. There, big error. It's really easy to run wide and maximise the track width, but it does get quite slippery if you go a bit too wide. But under the gantry at the beginning of the Dottinger, 7:27, that's another split time to remember. And coming up to the line at the end of my first complete lap, 8:14.2, so 2/10 off my Porsche lap. But as with the Porsche, it pretty much took the second lap to really dial in and properly complete a lap. And it's always good for me to have the Ghost reference, as you can pretty much do your first lap and you remember the points where you did good and where you did bad, and you can try to correct all the bad bits. Now through here, end of the GP, carrying a lot of speed through the chicane, trying to get this nice exit here. Nasty bump going on there, and you have to be really careful. 35.9, so that's the quickest we've done to that split, so that's good. We are still improving. And a bit later on, coming up here, very fast corner, fast section here, and lifting off to get the nose to bite and to get the car to turn in. And then this section here, just after the foxhole, you see just how much we gain as we take a slightly tidier line on the way in, releasing the brake at the right time, and just getting slightly better on the traction. And you can see they're definitely closing up to the Ghost, 3/10 gain now compared to the Ghost. And so this should be a quicker lap. Here, just after the carousel, clear mistake by the Ghost on the first lap, and so I was able to capitalise on that and gain a few more tenths. Now ahead of the Ghost by 7/10 of a second. And so it's a case of just bringing this home until the end. I know that I'm quicker, don't need to overthink it. Just carry this pace all the way to the end. Sounds simple, but obviously there's many corners and many opportunities to send yourself into the Shadow Realm around this track. Getting a bit tidier there. You see the Ghost in the back of shot, turning right there, where it shouldn't be. And now we are 1 second up. Again, another mistake from the Ghost. Through the mini carousel, always a tricky corner, pushing it right to the edge on the exit. 1.2 seconds advantage now. Throwing the speed in, carrying the speed in. Then this corner crucial, this long right onto the Dottinger at the end of the lap. What is the split timer going to say as we go underneath the gantry? Going to be a 7:26.266, and a couple of corners remaining to get this lap right, carrying a nice amount of speed onto this straight, and it's going to be a 1 second advantage. As we come to the line, it's going to be an 8:13.0. There we go, improved by a second, 8:13. Could have got into the 8:12s. So that now puts me 394th in the world, 1.98% off the top time. So we're edging closer, but we do have to take off a couple of seconds yet. Next up, I'm going to try the BMW M6. Okay, so not for the first time, spinning out big time on the first lap, but once I got this BMW M6 big boy dialed in, it was not too bad, apart from this moment here. Carrying a bit too much speed into the carousel, dropping out of the banking, and losing a fair amount of time from that moment there. Now this BMW is, well, it's big, and let me tell you, it's very clunky in the slow corners, but it does feel pretty good through the fast ones, which we are coming up to right now. This is easily my favourite section of the track. Fast and flowing, you've got to attack it, be aggressive, and really make the most of the grip and handling of these GT3 cars. Look at this, using all of the curb and a bit more, and throwing it into this uphill corner. You'd be amazed the amount of grip can be produced through that corner as you are heading into the hill. Bit of understeer there as we head through this right-hander, always a tricky corner. The corner falls away, not having a moment on the exit, which is good. and through YouTube corner a bit wide. Big moment on the exit where we gather it up. 6 minutes 22 through that split. And we're continuing underneath the gantry, somewhere around a 727 wouldn't be too bad. It is indeed a 727. And it's going to be an okay lap therefore, but definitely not quicker. 8:13.9, so 9/10 off the Mercedes lap, but near enough. The Mercedes, Porsche and BMW lapping fairly equally, but I was fairly confident that with the mistakes I made on that lap I could definitely improve and get into the 8-minute 12s. So that is my main focus on this second lap of the BMW. So through this section at the just after the foxhole, you see again just carrying a bit more speed, and this is where you can really notice the difference between your laps and why it's always a good idea to have a ghost. But apart from that moment there, when it isn't, because it kind of blocked my view of the curb and I wasn't quite able, as I sigh many times, I wasn't quite able to really judge that one to perfection. So there are moments when it can distract you and you probably should turn it off. And here you see I was just overdriving, I was just letting it get to me a little bit, not carrying enough speed, and then here again just pushing way too hard. It was really stupid. What am I doing? I don't know, Super GT, what are you doing? You're driving like an absolute melon. Sort your act out, mate. Okay, right, this is my attempt then to try to actually get my life together and put together a decent lap. Now, for the first section, it was decent. Let's try to get this hairpin at the bottom end of the GP just right. And as I said, this car does feel quite clunky through the slow corners, and that's one of the slower ones already ahead of the Ghost. Let's not forget, the Ghost is an 8:13.9, so I do need to get a sizable margin in front. But I set the Ghost to about 0.4 seconds ahead, so I'm already about half a second in front at this point. So on to the Nordschleife. Let's see what the split timer is going to be over that bump. Horrible, hate it. 35.3, I think that's the fastest I've done it so far. Nice rotation on that left-hander. Sabine Schmidt's curve, as it is now named. So down the foxhole, dangerous little section of the track, this one. Always a point where it can go horribly wrong, and normally when you watch the auto addiction videos, a fair amount of crashes at that point of the track. So we're going to try not to crash on that point this time, and as you can see, the result is quite clear. Moving away from the Ghost into the carousel, and this was a big and blatant error on my first lap, so we're going to try and stay within the banking, try to capitalise on that, and we're going to do just that exactly to plan, although I didn't gain as much as I think I would have done. But coming around the final long right-hander onto the Dottinger for the split timer here, what is it going to be? 8 minutes 25.9. So in the Mercedes it was a 26 low, and therefore we should be quicker if we carry some nice speed through here as we have done. This should be an improvement upon the 8:13, and as we drive up to the line, let's take a look. It's going to be an 8 minutes 12.4. Ooh, that was a good lap. A couple of mistakes in there. 8:12.4. 1.85% off, 309th in the world now. Okay guys, that's enough green hell for me today. It is now 1 AM. I'm going to come back refreshed tomorrow. We're going to go for that 8:09. Okay viewers, day 2. One of the quickest cars in Group 3 at the moment is the GTR Nismo 2018. But weirdly enough, we're not really seeing it on the leaderboard a huge amount. So I thought I would give it a go and see if there's a reason why this car is not being chosen too much for this event. Of course, as ever, the Toyota Supra is one of the go-to cars in Group 3. In fact, really at the moment, it comes down to 2 cars, the Nissan GTR, which we are driving here, the 2018 model, and the Toyota Supra. Now, the GTR is fairly good on handling, and you would have thought, around a track like this with so many corners, this should be the car to use. So we are going to give it a go and see how it performs. On the exit of here, split timer 36.0, not too bad, but like before, normally takes a lap or two to really dial in with each car. At the end of this one, let's go through this section. This is a section that I really often struggle with. This left-hander is really just quite tricky to get dead right, and could have parried a bit more speed. Then you have the mini carousel, and this is always a very dangerous corner. You have to get in there really early to make the most of the banking, but then be brave enough to accelerate early on the exit as well. Not an easy corner to get right. So here, coming on to the Dottinger, once again drinking game for the word Dottinger, which is the name of the straight, the Dottinger Ho, to be more precise. Under here, 7:25.6, and that's the fastest split I've seen from myself. A bit of a squirm on the exit of the final corner, onto the main straight. Let's see what this is going to be as we come up to the line. 8 minutes 12.4 to beat, and we have done that on the first attempt. So this car is clearly good, it has potential, there's no question about that. And on this lap, you can see, just trying to eke out even more time compared to the Ghost, just carrying a bit more speed with a better line. And I was able to eke out a few tenths here and there. And the exit here, 135.683, good split, good tidy exit from that downhill corner. Sabine Schmidt's curve. Now a bit later on, well, this lap was a good one and I was on for an 8:11 surely, until this very unfortunate mistake. So we got that mistake out of our system. Always annoying to be on a good lap and for it to come to nothing when you make a very silly mistake. But that is part and parcel of time trialling, and especially around the Green Hell. This track, we know how difficult it is, how ferocious, how many difficult technical corners it has. And in order to get a top time trial leaderboard positioning, you do really have to drive on the edge and go for it. And therefore, it really is a difficult challenge to string together an entire lap around this fearsome track. Now, a 35.6, again, we've matched our previous split, but this time, hopefully, we could continue without crashing. And we're going to try that here. Again, this section just after the foxhole, a very technical little sequence of corners. Crucial to get this exit right, maximising the curb on the exit. I don't really maximise it, but I did use it. Head of the Ghost, 315.6 through that split. And this left hand is where I'm going to make a bit of a mistake, carrying a bit too much speed, just running the two wheels onto the grass. I managed to style it out and make sure that it doesn't turn into a huge error. But I'd say at least a couple of tenths were lost in the process of that suboptimal driving. Now a bit further around the lap, coming up to the Bravery corner, this left-hander, fast, fearsome turn, and you really do have to be fully committed to this one. A bit of a lift, we're not going to downshift, back on the power, and that was very nicely done. I'm quite happy with that. And through this fast sweeping section then, this is where really this Nissan GTR is going to come alive. With the downforce and grip that it has. I'm going to try and maximise this section of the track, feeling very comfortable through here, throwing it in through this right-hander, getting back on the power, trusting that that curb is on the correct position, and we meet it just right. Downhill, running wide, again just maximising the track width as much as possible. Nürburgring is a fairly narrow circuit, and so to get the most out of the car, you really do have to maximise the track width as much as possible. This is a comfortable lap so far. As we head down towards the final straight, let's see what the split time is going to be as we round out here. We're comfortably ahead of the Ghost. It's going to be a PB under this gantry, I would have thought. Let's take a look. It's going to be a 7:23.8. Guys, I am so nervous about going into this last complex. This could be an 8:10. Could be an 8:09 if I get this dead right. And you have a lot of time to think about it. Under the Bilstein Bridge, you have a good 20-30 seconds to think about your braking point for this last sequence of corners. Looking for the curb on the right, wait for it to end, and then you're going to brake just after, carry the speed in, off the brakes, let the speed roll through that turn. And then on the exit, a good exit. It's going to be a good lap. I'm happy with it. Let's take a look. It's going to be an 8:10.3. Oh man, 8:10.3. I had some mistakes in there as well. I should be pleased with that, but I'm kind of frustrated because I wanted an 8:09, but I missed out by 3.5 tenths. I'm within 1.5% of the top time, but we are going to have to go a bit quicker. Okay, 138th in the world at the moment. I think we can get inside the top 100. Let's see. So 8:09, just over 100 people have done it. I think I can do it. I just need to string that lap together. I made a couple of mistakes on that lap, so it's not impossible. Okay, so let's jump back in. I know I can do it. I know the time is there. And so it's really, again, a case of putting a lap together, holding your nerve, and not making any very silly and obvious mistakes. So you can see here on this attempt, putting together that corner a lot better, and that's definitely where I would have lost 3 or 4 tenths minimum from the mistake I made on the 8-minute 10.3. And then coming down here, let's take a look. Again, really comfortable through this section, just feeling nice and composed, the car feeling really good, the boys back at the Nissan factory doing an amazing job, but the unfortunate thing is the driver wasn't. Oh God! Oh my God, man. That was surely an 8:09. Yes, always a frustrating moment when you throw it into barrier when you're on a good lap. But to be honest, this section of the time trial, I was just overdriving. I'm like massively overdriving now. Need to get into the mood. There we go. Green lights have got to be worth a second a lap, surely. Now my game doesn't want to work, and I've got the Gran Turismo spinning wheel of death. Love to see it. Once the spinning wheel of death disappeared, I was able to return to the circuit and try for this 8:09. Now, for the bravery corner, I was perhaps a bit too brave, as I got on the power a bit too soon and had a nice little grazing session there with Barry R. And I only had one word to say. Wow. That also could have been an 8:09. And so, after much moaning and groaning and many mistakes, we get to this lap. Can we finally string together an entire lap without making a silly mistake and finally get that 8:09 or better? I mean, I wouldn't mind an 8:08, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. Okay, crossing the line. This is it. Let's go. We've got the green light on. I mean, surely around the green hell, a green light, we've got a green livery on the car. I mean, we're on theme today, and I would have thought that's worth at least a second a lap, minimum, especially on a track like this, how long it is, maybe even 2 seconds. Through the first split, 21.9, I'm happy with it. Anything below 22 was good for that one. Dropping down here, nice bit of patience, mid-corner, back on the power. And I think in this car, if you get on the power early in third gear, then you do get some nice exits, but you do have to be early on the power. Down at the hairpin, squaring the corner off for a good exit. Second gear through that one, definitely a sharp corner. 48.6, and that was a good split timer for me personally. Through the Schumacher S, carrying as much speed as possible. Back over to the right, braking just before the 100 board at the start of the darker tarmac. Off the brake and let the car roll through here nicely. And that's the tip I would always give, is to really consider how much you are holding the brake into a corner. If you can just release the brake a tiny bit earlier, you'd be amazed the difference in speed you can carry through corners once you really trust that the car can grip. That's my one piece of advice. Also, drive fast and don't crash. I mean, that's always valuable. So, off of the GP, let's see what we can do through here. Carrying a nice line, 35.0, that's the fastest I've seen myself do, at least, down the hill. This section is always quite nice. This right-hander should be able to take it flat out if you're committed and you get the line dead right, as we have. And then this little section here, braking once, straighten it up a bit, and then brake again. You're almost braking in 2 bits for that corner. Then this bit, get the car over the curb, throw it into the left, carry the speed through. And this corner is very crucial because it leads out onto a medium length straight. in third gear. Using a bit of the grass on the left, you can definitely do that to get on the power a bit earlier, give yourself a better angle. 2:16.3. I was normally 17s and 18s through that split, so it's definitely a good lap, carrying the speed nicely through the double right of Flugplatz, I believe. And are we now coming up to Arenberg? I should really know these corner names, shouldn't I? Bit of a disgrace that I don't. But into this fast sweeping left, you can carry this one flat out, but you do have to get the entry point dead right. Braking at the end of the curb on the left, carry the speed in. Again, off the brake, third gear, back on the power. Use a bit of the curb if you have to. 248.0. We were trying to go sub 250 earlier on. Now we're into the 248s through that section. Dropping down through the foxhole, 165 miles per hour. Fast sweeping left, blind on the top of the hill. Let the car roll nicely through that right-hander. Second gear, a bit too much curb. Through the right, trying to get on the power as early as possible, maximising the curb width to straighten up the car as much as possible. 314 through that split. This left-hander, I got it wrong a couple of laps ago, and so I need to just roll off that power, let the car come back to life, and then back on the power before you brake into this left-hander. Back on the power. You can see a bit of a trend developing here. It's really about getting that braking correct, coming off the brake and then getting on the power as early as possible at the right time. Through this double, through this chicane, sorry, it's not a double. And then you've got this triple right. This is definitely a corner you can get wrong quite easily, carry a lot of speed through that right-hander. Then a very slow corner on the circuit. Again, braking in a couple of goes there, down to first gear. Not many times on this lap you're going to go into first gear. Through this split, can't quite go sub 4 minutes, but it's a 4:01.2, so not too far off. This is always a tricky little section, this. Let the car breathe, roll through the corner, back on the power, then throw it in nice and early as it understeers, back on the power by the time you get to the apex. In third gear, getting good drive off that turn as we head round towards another very important corner. Looking for a little blue marker in the middle of the track. We're going to brake just after it, carry the speed in, and then back on the power in third gear, maximising the track width. Crucial corner because it leads out into a very long flat out and uphill section, and so you need to get good speed onto this straight. 4:36 through that split, so we've got a bit of breathing room now before we get to the Bravery corner. A lot of time to think about this corner. All I know is that I need to have a bit of a lift, be confident, and make sure that I don't run wide on the exit, which will kill your momentum and probably kill your lap. Throw the car in off the power, meet the exit nicely. 5:01.9, that's easily the fastest I've been to this point. Braking just before the curb on the left hand side, carry the car in, bit of patience here mid corner. Second gear acceleration, looking for the shadow of the tree on the left hand side. It covers the entire track, braking on that shadow, carrying the speed into the carousel. Second gear, be nice and patient, as the car can easily snap away if you accelerate too soon. And then we're accelerating away to the best portion of the entire circuit, carrying a lot of speed through here. Be nice and brave and committed on the entry. Really believe in the power of the aerodynamics of this car and the grip. This section, look at this, on the power nicely on the exit, using the bit of the curve. 5:47 through that section. Earlier on I was in the 49s and 50s on a bad lap. Coming down this hill, using all of the curb on the entry, on the apex, on the exit, carrying the speed through, uphill, drops down again, throw the car into this left, be patient mid-corner, back on the power as the car comes back to the left, throw it in early to meet that apex, use the exit tarmac, the exit runoff for maximum track width. Be careful of that curb on the left, can definitely spin you out if you're not careful. 6:18 through that split, back on the power early, uphill exit. We'll be nice and careful. We're going to drop down towards the jump, always a scary part of the track. You're going to jump, and as you come down, straight away turn in, bit of a brake, back on the power. These couple of corners here really grip up nicely, and then this part here, this left-hander down the hill, car wants to go very light, and it can get quite scary. Feels like you're going to lose grip. Then we've got a very fast right-hander coming up. You're amazed at the amount of speed you can carry through here. 120 miles an hour minimum speed through the left-hander. Again, carrying the speed nicely into the mini carousel, a corner I always hate, and it comes up so late in the lap. So it's definitely one you can mess up, and it's always annoying to come up to it. I think I've taken it okay into into this right-hander, carry the speed in, you can really go through that bit very quickly, you know, much more so than you think. And rounding out the long right-hander onto the straight. Oh, come on, this is a mega lap. Let's see what it is under the gantry. 7:22. I've not seen that number under there before. Oh my goodness. By the 9 divines, by the old gods and the new gods, please pray that I get this final sequence correct. I've done it enough times up until now. I just need to make sure I hit my braking point dead right, release the brake at the right moment, and then accelerate away in the correct gear at the right time. So it's actually quite a lot to think about. So as we head down here, again, looking for the curb on the right hand side, wait for it to end, and then you can start braking. Use the extra tarmac on the left hand side there to give yourself a better angle. Don't quite use the curb as much as I could have done, but it's not too bad of an exit. And as we come up to the line, I strung together an amazing lap. It's going to be a sub 8:10. Yes! Come on! 8:09. That might be the best lap I've ever done on the Nordschleife. 89th in the world. Top 100, 1.23% off the top. I think that's I mean, look, 6 seconds away still from number 1. These guys are absolute aliens, so I don't think that's such a bad thing. Around this track, to put that lap together, top 100 in the world, I'm really, honestly, I'm so happy with that. I am so happy with that. I don't think it's impossible for me to do an 8:08, especially if I jumped into the Supra, but 8:09 with the Nismo, wow, super happy with that. So there it is, 8:09.431, 1.23% away from the world's best time. And I should think that will put me safe for a gold medal. But today I think I've conquered the green hell. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. Catch you next time. Goodbye.